Who's it going to be? Is it going to be JD? Is it going to be somebody else? I don't know. Does anybody have? Okay, let's go. You ready? Who likes JD Vance? Who likes Marco Rubio? All right.
JD Vance was in that room, and Marco Rubio, he wasn't. I want you to hold that for a second. The sitting vice president of the United States, the man that constitutionally is a heartbeat away from the presidency, was sitting in the Rose Garden at the White House dinner while the president of the United States asked everyone in the room whether they liked him or somebody else better. And then he graded the applause out loud. Big. That's what Trump called Vance's applause. And Rubio, well, he called it very nice. And then he said this, and I want you to read this exactly. That does not mean that you have my endorsement under any circumstance. There's a lot happening in that sentence. Trump calls them the kids. That's the word multiple people close to him have used when describing how he talks about Vance and Rubio privately. The kids, not the vice president, not the Secretary of State, the kids. And what he did last night publicly at the White House dinner with Vance sitting right there was ask the room to evaluate his kids, like he was choosing which one gets the car for his date on Saturday night. Now, Trump's advisors say that he's just having some fun polling some people, and that 2028 is not on top of his mind. And maybe that's true, but Trump has been doing this for 6 months. In October, he told reporters that Vance and Rubio would be unstoppable together. In February, he asked 25 donors at Mar-a-Lago who they preferred. And according to NBC News and the Wall Street Journal, that room went 80-20 for Rubio. 80-20 for Rubio. And that's interesting because when you ask Republican voters rather than the Republican donors, the numbers look nothing like that. Vance is at 40 to 42% in every recent poll, and Rubio is at 14 to 16%. CPAC straw poll in March 26 had Vance at 53 and Rubio at 35. So the base wants Vance and the money wants Rubio. And then there's this Iran thing, because it's sitting right in the middle of the story and nobody is connecting it clearly enough. Vance opposed the Iran war. From the beginning, he was skeptical, and inside the administration, when the bombs started falling, he made that known on February 28th. After the ceasefire in April, which is being described by CBS News as the ceasefire in name only, Vance flew to Pakistan in person to try to broker something real, and he came back without an agreement. And then Trump started asking his advisors, and this is from CNN, to rank Vance's performance on the Iran negotiation, to rank it like a report card. And the Time magazine most influential list for 2026 came out, and JD Vance wasn't on it. Marco Rubio, well, he was, and he was listed as somebody who could, in their words, possibly inherit the Trumpiest movement in 2028. Now, let's be frank. Time magazine, which is not exactly a publication that roots for MAGA, is now a useful data point in the internal Republican succession debate. That's where we are. I mean, again, Time magazine, it's not totally interesting, but you need to start to add things up. And I want to say something that might be slightly uncomfortable. Former Trump White House communications director Alyssa Farah Griffin, well, she said something last week that I actually think is true. She said, and I direct quote this, "Every time Marco Rubio speaks, JD Vance is kind of in the fetal position. And here's why that's worth thinking about rather than just dismissing it. Rubio captured Nicolás Maduro in January. He negotiated the Gaza peace deal in October and is now simultaneously the Secretary of State and the National Security Advisor. That's a concentration of power that almost never happens. He's at the White House briefing room. He met with the Pope in Italy last week. I mean, Marco Rubio is literally everywhere. Meanwhile, Vance, he went to Pakistan, and the ceasefire is still just barely kind of holding on. That's not a criticism of Vance. Stopping a war is genuinely hard, harder than anything that Rubio has been asked to do yet. But perceptions are built from what people see. And right now, the people around Trump, the donors, the advisors, the ones who built the financial infrastructure of MAGA, well, they're seeing something that the base isn't seeing yet. And here's the question I keep coming back to. What is Trump actually doing here? Because this isn't accidental. Trump doesn't do accidental. He's been running this poll for 6 months at Mar-a-Lago, with donors, with advisors, and now publicly at a White House dinner with the VP in the room. One reading is that he generally likes them both and enjoys watching the competition. And another reading is that he's keeping Vance slightly off balance and doing it on purpose. Because a VP who's slightly uncertain about whether he has his boss's backing, well, he works a little harder. He stays a little more loyal. And he doesn't start believing in his own press 16 months before the midterms. Donald Trump has done this his entire career. He keeps the successors competing. And he keeps them grateful. He keeps them slightly afraid that the other one might be winning. You know, the kids. Now, Rubio said this perfectly and publicly, and I mean it. He said, if J.D. Vance runs for president, he's going to be our nominee, and I'll be the first one to support him. That is either the most gracious thing a potential rival has ever said, or it's the smartest thing a politician has said all year. Because if Vance wins, Rubio is seen as a loyalist. And if Trump decides that it's Rubio, after all, well, he already cleared the decks. What actually matters going into November, the midterms, they're the real audition, is if Republicans can hold the House and pick up some Senate seats, Trump's legacy is protected. And the 2028 conversation gets a lot quieter. Now, if the Republicans don't, the question of who Trump actually endorses becomes the most important thing a Republican prioritizes overnight. So watch which one of them is standing next to Trump on election night in November, because that's not the minor details. That's actually the whole game. So if you have yet to subscribe to the channel, please do so. You can do that right here. Just click that button. And we put some other videos that we think you're going to like, all of which are great. They're MAGA friendly, America First friendly, and educational, where we walk you through everything that you need to know. They're right here. Just click on those videos. They're coming up next.